I'm pretty sure Wyatt Langford is part Targaryen, because this kid looks like the prince that was promised.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube. But the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the wonderful Sunday night performance by Wyatt Langford in this offense, maybe, finally, hopefully turning that corner, today's episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and help get a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Now, the Rangers played on Sunday Night Baseball, the merciful end to what has been a brutal series for the Rangers against these Baltimore Orioles. Just an incredibly talented team that has just taken the Rangers behind the woodshed and just laid a whooping on them in the opening of this series, an 11-2 victory by the Orioles, and then two heartbreaking one-run losses on Friday and Saturday, including a terrifying injury scare with Corey Seager. We'll get more into what's going on with Seager a little bit later on. But then on Sunday night, if the Rangers had lost this game on Sunday night, I'm pretty sure this would have been the most miserable flight in team history. I mean, at that point, they would be riding a 7-game losing streak with consecutive sweeps, nay, a sweep and a mop at the hands of the Orioles. But no, Sunday Night Baseball, up comes Wyatt Langford to have the game of his life, hitting for the cycle at his young age. Not only has he hit for the cycle, he has also had an inside-the-park home run. He has had a grand slam and a cycle. He is the first rookie in MLB history to ever do all 3 of those things as a rookie. And this was only his 60th career game at the major league level. Yeah, 60th career game for Wyatt Langford. He is already doing this kind of special stuff. It definitely took him a little while to get going. It took him a hot minute, and he's still got some things to iron out. He still could be hitting for a little bit more power. I mean, it's maybe a little greedy to ask for that in a day where he had 3 extra base hits, which, by the way, Wyatt Langford's combination of power and speed is definitely what impressed them the most. The sheer athleticism, the ability to adjust, the ability to get better from at-bat to at-bat, pitch to pitch even. And seeing him use that speed and abuse that speed in this game, a normal hitter, if they didn't have Wyatt Langford's speed and his aggression on the base pass, not just that he is fast, but he knows he's fast and he uses it to his advantage to make him that much better of a player. An average speed player, or even just a moderately fast player, this is a 4-hit night, but it's 2 singles, a double, and a home run. Pretty good night, but not cycle. Not a cycle. There's just something poetic about that. It's been a long time since a Rangers rookie had hit for the cycle. Matter of fact, it had been since 1985. Heck, it had been a long time since any Ranger had hit for the cycle. That was since 2017 when Carlos Gomez did it. Yeah, Cargo. That was a fun little brief stint with the Rangers. He joins such Rangers greats to have a cycle as Carlos Gomez, as Adrian Beltre, and, of course, how could we forget Bengie Molina? Probably my favorite cycle of all time. Wyatt Langford's was pretty close, though. Adrian Beltre is also way up there. Carlos Gomez's was pretty good, but this one doing it on Sunday Night Baseball. By the way, the first ever cycle in Sunday Night Baseball history. The first one ever. Not just by a rookie or by a Ranger. The first one ever in a Sunday Night Baseball game. Wyatt Langford, have yourself a day. Taking the single as an infield single, a ball that was, well hit. By the way, all these hits, none of them were cheapies. All of them at least 102 miles an hour off the bat. The single, 102.9 miles an hour off the bat. Shortstop just had to pocket it because Wyatt's just too freaking fast. The double, 102.5 miles an hour off the bat. For anybody else, maybe Evan Carter turns that also into a double, but that's a routine single, about as routine a single as they get, and he turned that into a double. And then the triple, which would have been a home run in 22 other ballparks, if not for that stupid Baltimore. 104 miles an hour off the bat, got stuck briefly under the padding in the outfield, and if the left fielder Hayes had thrown his hands up and ruled it a ground rule, it would have been a double, but he decided to play it, and Wyatt Langford, with his amazing speed, turned that into a triple. And then, for the finale, the 3-run shot, just to put the exclamation mark on it, let you know this is a special, special day. 107.4 miles an hour off the bat, 404 feet down the line in left field for that 3-run shot. Homer in every single ballpark. Just an absolutely extraordinary day for Wyatt Langford. Oh, and his other at-bat was a 87.2 mile an hour flyout. So not the worst. But still, Wyatt Langford turning things on, having this kind of special performance. I mean, doing it on the big stage when about a year ago he was playing against LSU in the College World Series. Just mind-boggling stuff. And I think that hamstring injury, although an injury is never a good thing, having that time to reset, to focus on his swing, to look back at old film of what he was doing that was leading to success at Florida. I mean, he'd been putting together pretty quality at-bats for most of his season. Obviously very rung up by aggressive umpires wanting to put the rookie in his place and calling these terrible strike threes and strike ones and strike twos all the time for the first, month and a half of the season. But getting to a place where he knows himself, he's confident, he's not trying to push and do too much, being able to lift the ball a little bit more. He had still been hitting the ball hard. Not quite as hard, not as consistently as I think he would have wanted to or expected himself to do. But seeing him stick with it, I mean, that was the thing about Wyatt Langford, always. Above the athleticism, above the, raw power, the speed, all of those things. It was the ability to get better quickly, which is why he moved through the minor leagues so fast, which is why this ended up looking like such a steal of a pick, even this quickly after the draft happened. I mean, we're less than a year removed from the draft, and it's already looking like, well, if Paul Skeens wasn't looking absolutely sensational every bit what we thought Paul Skeens would be, then we'd be saying, how did this guy not only fall to 4, how did he fall to 2? But that's where the Rangers are. And thank God for those lottery odds of letting the Rangers move up. And oh, by the way, he's turning out to be a pretty okay fielder in left field, which was another also huge question apparently about this guy, because some scouts and evaluators thought, oh, the guy who is, incredibly fast, incredibly, strong and athletic and, works really hard and gets significantly better pretty quickly. Oh, that guy's never gonna figure out how to field or play left field. Like, you kidding me? They're not teaching him to catch. It's left field. He's got the talent, the physical tools, and the mental fortitude to go ahead and be okay out there. Heck, I think he'd be okay out there in center field, which the Rangers might have to make a decision there too. But they had another great game from a center fielder. Wasn't Evan Carter. Wasn't Leody Taveras. But it was Derek freaking Hill. We're talking about why that matters right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So go download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Here on Locked On Rangers, we pride ourselves in giving you the latest news for your team. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, it's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for your unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an 8+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season, call 1-800-549 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Now, I know Wyatt Langford was the star of the show, but there were other stars in this 11-2 beating of the Orioles on Sunday night. The Rangers just desperately needed to get themselves back on track. And one of the other stars in this game has got to be Derek Hill. Derek Hill, who had a phenomenal spring training with the Rangers, didn't quite make the roster out of camp, but absolutely lit AAA on fire this year. It was not that great in his first stint up with the Rangers, just to the point where the Rangers sent him back down, DFA'd him, and he cleared waivers and stayed with the Rangers in Round Rock until the Rangers decided, we need a spark. We need something for this offense. We need someone to just get hot and start helping this offense out. And that's what they hoped Derek Hill would be. When they sent down Ezekiel Duran and they called Derek Hill back up, they said, we just need somebody to get hot. That was the message, is we need results. We need results. Now, it does not matter who they come from. If you're hitting, then you're going to be in the lineup. And if you're not hitting, you're not. Simple as that. They just needed this entire offense to turn around, or just somebody to give them a spark. And in this game, Wyatt Langford was the story of the game, but Derek Hill absolutely sparked this team. Getting him on the board with that 2-run homer, the longest and hardest hit of his career to that point, his second of the year. And by the way, the last home run that he had this year was Saturday. Hits a home run in his final at-bat of the game on Saturday, comes into this one, hits a home run in his first at-bat of the game, and then hits another home run in this one. A multi-homer game from someone who isn't Corey Seager this year. The first player outside of Corey Seager to have a multi-homer game this year is Derek Hill. That's a great thing for Derek Hill, and not a great thing for the rest of this Rangers offense of not having that many homers. I'm very surprised that Adolis Garcia hadn't had a multi-home run game, at least in April, when he was absolutely on fire. But this offense, the rest of it, starting to turn things around. Getting a multi-walk day from Semien, still 0 for 4, still in the midst of a truly terrible skid right now. Didn't get a whole lot of Grossman out of the 3-hole, going 0 for 6 with a couple of strikeouts in this one. OPS down to 600 on the year, but getting some quality at bats from Adolis Garcia, getting a walk from him, getting an extra base hit from him, getting extra base hits from all throughout this lineup. I mean, Derek Hill with the multi-homer game, but Nathaniel Lowe with a couple of hits as well as a couple of RBIs. A multi-hit day for Andrew Kisner, who had a double in this one as well. Just great overall day for this offense. Hitting with runners in scoring position, 6 for 15. Did still have 10 guys left on base, but that's because they had so many base runners, including 4 hit by pitches. Adolis Garcia, hit by a pitch. Josh Smith, hit by a pitch. Andrew Kisner, hit by a pitch. Davis Wenzel, also hit by a pitch. The Rangers need to stop getting hit by pitches, because it's some scary moments this weekend, including Corey Seager getting hit on the wrist, thankfully avoiding the worst case scenario. I mean, if the Rangers had 2 different wrist fractures on hit by pitches to the 2 guys on the left side of their infield to start this year, I mean, just an all-time bad luck coincidence. And we've seen how long it's taken for Josh Young to get back. We'll talk more about some of the setbacks that he's had as of late and some concerns there, and what the long-term prognosis is for Corey Seager after the hit by pitch. But Josh Smith getting hit in this one, I mean, he leads the league. I think he leads all of Major League Baseball in hit by pitches. I think this was his 12th or 13th hit by pitch on the year. Big reason why his OBP is so high, but still, scary moment there. Cannot afford to lose Josh Smith. Cannot afford to lose anybody from this lineup. But starting to see Nathaniel Lowe hit some balls hard. Starting to see him turn a corner. Getting a little bit of offense out of Andrew Kisner, which is a great thing for this offense. I mean, just anybody, all up and down this lineup. If anybody is starting to hit, then they are going to stick in there. And I think that this kind of a game from Derek Hill might mean, at least for the next couple of weeks, I don't know if long-term he's necessarily going to, be the Rangers' long-term option at center field. I don't think that's particularly likely that, at age 28, he has finally made the breakthrough. I mean, he's a guy who's had a lot of potential. I mean, he was a former first-round pick by the Tigers back in 2014, but just has not been able to really put it all together in a year. He's only had 1 year where he played more than 31 games. He had 49 back in 2021, where he had an OPS over 700. The only time he's done that in his career. Heck, those 3 home runs that he's hit this year, I mean, that ties a career high. He had that career high, like I said, 2021. A great year for Derek Hill. But for the next couple of weeks, if Derek Hill stays hot, he's going to stay in this lineup. It's going to be tough for Leota to get some at-bats. It's going to be, tough for, if Evan Carter comes back, he's going to have to work his way back into this lineup. Maybe he ends up playing right field and we see Adolis Garcia do a little bit more DHing. But who's ever hitting is going to stay in this lineup because that's where this offense is at. You just need anybody to give you that spark. And as long as they're giving you that spark, they should keep getting at bats. And I think they will. As for Kisner, I think he's just getting some offense out of him. Getting any offense out of your catchers at this point, which the Rangers have gotten not much of any. I mean, it's bonus. It's cherry. It's a cherry on top because they literally need it from anywhere. And whether it's Kisner, whether it's Derek Hill, whether it's Nathaniel Lowe, whether it's Robbie Grossman or Josh Smith or Jonathan Ornelas or whoever the heck on this roster is providing you the offense, they are going to stick in this lineup. And, the offense did its job today, but flying under the radar with probably the best game he's had as a Texas Ranger. Maybe his start in the World Series was a little bit bigger, but Andrew Heaney, an absolute masterclass in this one. I mean, truly sensational pitching by him. 7 innings, no walks, 10 strikeouts for him. And oh, by the way, he had 19 whiffs in this one. He made Gunnar Henderson look bad. And Gunnar Henderson has been one of, if not the best players in baseball this year. And he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Only the 3rd time he's done that in his career. The first time he's done it since his first year in the big leagues, which was a couple years back. I mean, that's an incredible performance by Andrew Heaney, who has just stepped up time and time again. The only starting pitcher in this rotation that hasn't spent time on the IL this year. Yeah, Andrew Heaney. And somehow this was just his 3rd win of the season. 3-9. He has truly gotten terrible run support throughout this year. But hey, he didn't pitch the scoreboard. He just pitched like a dominant pitcher in this one. I mean, this was a great performance by him. And oh, by the way, don't sleep on Jose Urena. Just sitting 98, touching as high as 98.9 in his 2 innings of work there to end this one. But still, phenomenal job by Heaney. Also some pretty solid pitching from outside of the truly terrible performance from John Gray in the opener of this game. Mostly really good pitching by the starters. Great start from Scherzer on Friday, seeing him go out there, be healthy, and dominate this lineup for the most part, and seeing a mostly pretty good performance by Lorenzen on Saturday, and then finishing with this absolute gem from Heaney. Just another good thing going well for the Rangers, even when the offense wasn't going for most of this weekend. Seeing it get going a little bit on Saturday and a lot more on Sunday. It's going to be just the slightest bit of hope that this team isn't totally cooked. At least not yet, depending on what news they get about Seager, which we'll talk about right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or daily bonus daily. Like I said, that is every single day. That's right, there's something for everyone all day long, all summer long. If you're looking at AL MVP honors, we just saw a guy here. Not a great day for him on Sunday, but Gunnar Henderson has been absolutely incredible all year. Right now, he is the second favorite to win AL MVP. He is at plus 350, behind only Aaron Judge, who is at minus 280. If you're feeling good about those Seager odds, right now he has the 7th best odds at plus 10,000. Or if you're feeling a little bit bullish on a Marcus Semien second half explosion, he is down there, I believe, at 13th right now. Yeah, 13th best odds at plus 15,000. Somehow, Marcus Semien has better odds than Kyle Tucker at plus 18,000. I don't know how, but I like it. I like seeing him have better odds than Kyle Tucker. So if you are wanting to check it out, go over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Now, this Rangers offense has started to have some better signs. Not only the great game from Wyatt Langford on Sunday night. I mean, Wyatt Langford's at-bats in general have looked much, much better. I mean, one of the things that I really like about Wyatt Langford is the 2 situations where he is thriving the most are things that the Rangers desperately need for someone to thrive in. He has absolutely crushed lefties this year in 53 at-bats. He's got a 966 OPS, on base in the 380s, slugging in the 580s. Just absolutely phenomenal against lefties this year. And in the clutch, with runners in scoring position, he's got 64 at-bats. He's hitting over 320, nearly 330, on base of 413, slugging 516, a 929 OPS with runners in scoring position. He's driven in a lot of runs this year for not that many opportunities because he has been so good in those moments. But seeing Nathaniel Lowe start to turn a corner, I think if I could pick one guy to just get incredibly hot for the next couple of weeks, outside of what we've seen from Wyatt Langford, who I think is just starting to figure things out and going to be the kind of hitter that we all imagine. Seeing Nathaniel Lowe start to get on a bit of a hot streak, seeing him start to hit balls hard, start to be more aggressive on bad pitches and punishing them early and not just trying to be patient. In the last 7 games, Nathaniel Lowe has 0 walks and is hitting 286 and slugging 536. I will take that trade-off for Nathaniel Lowe. He's allowed to have occasionally those stretches where he gets a little more aggressive, where he isn't sitting and working those deep counts as much, and he is just putting a walloping on the baseball like he can do, because he's got that power in there. I mean, in terms of batting practice displays of pure raw power, Wyatt Langford probably has the most on this team, but Nathaniel Lowe might give him a run for his money. Same with Adolis Garcia. Seeing him start to put some better swings on balls, seeing him start to punish mistakes like he was doing early on this year, like he was doing, like he's done for most of his career with the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers desperately need Adolis Garcia to start punishing some mistakes more often than he has been over the month of May and early parts of June. They need Nathaniel Lowe to slug they need Jonah Heim to slug as well. They need Marcus Semien. They really need Marcus Semien to snap out of this cold stretch that he's in, especially if they have to miss significant time from Corey Seager. Seager took a hit by pitch on Saturday's game after hitting a home run, just looking like he was starting to pull out of his mini slump. Then he takes a hit by pitch, a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Yet again, this one was a sinker, not a four-seamer like the one that got Josh Young. But it thankfully avoided the worst-case scenario. There is no broken bones, no broken anything there, which thank God, because we've seen how long those broken wrists take. That is the worst-case scenario for a hit by pitch, is getting hit in the wrist. Because we've seen it's knocked out Josh Young for 80 games, or nearly 80 games. And I don't know if we're going to see Josh Young that much sooner. But speaking of Corey Seager, he didn't play in this game. He's taking a day on Monday. He might end up seeing a hand specialist. I think that will probably end up being the case on Monday while the Rangers have a day off as they fly back from Baltimore back home. Hopefully everything looks okay. Hopefully he starts to feel okay. Hopefully he's back in the lineup on Tuesday. But the Rangers making a move to get Jonathan Ornelas up, they didn't do that for no reason. They didn't option Brock Burke for no reason to bring up Jonathan Ornelas. He's there for some depth. Maybe he's there because they're going to send Davis Wenzel down, because Davis Wenzel having an 0 for 4 day with 3 strikeouts in a game where everybody else was hitting is not great. And it's been rough for Wenzel, and I'm still a believer in Wenzel's bat. But this has been a rough first year in the big leagues for the former first-round pick out of Baylor. Just a rough year. But if the Rangers have to miss significant time, if they have to have an IL stint for Corey, which is on the table, even without a broken bone. I mean, that kind of a pitch in that area, it can mess you up. And if he has to miss, 3, 4, 5 days, I think they'll avoid an IL stint, how Bruce Bochy was talking. But if it's going to be 10 days, then they're going to have to put him on the IL. And that will put them in a rough way, especially since Josh Young, it's going to be a little longer than we anticipated. I mean, the initial timeline was 10 to 12 weeks. Once they finally figured out the extent of the damage when he had surgery, the timeline for Josh Young's return was going to be 10 to 12 weeks. And, well, this Tuesday, tomorrow, as you're listening to this, is going to be 13 weeks. The Rangers are trying to, not put Josh Young in any danger, and when he is back, they need him to be fully back and not have some kind of setback. And there is a conservative timeline where, it's not till after the All-Star break that Josh Young comes back. And, at that point, I don't know how much good he's even doing you. You're already very much on the precipice of being just completely out of it, if you're not already. This Rangers team is 8 games out of the wild card and the AL West. Heck, they're closer to the Angels than the Astros in the standings. It's not great. Things are not great. And this offense is starting to look like it's showing some signs of life. Seeing that in the Brewers series with the Nathaniel Lowe and Jonah Heim home runs. Seeing Wyatt Langford have this breakout game. Seeing Derek Hill have a game like this, a 2-game stretch like this. Seeing some offense out of Andrew Kisner, which they hadn't for a while. They need to get back now. I mean, it's now or never. They need to figure out if they are selling or if they are buying at the deadline. They can't even buy. There's not really much to improve on this team outside of internal expectations. It's just everybody needs to just figure it out and turn it around. And at this point, I think it's possible they turn things around and make it a push down the stretch. And I think they're always leaning towards that. They're always leaning towards being aggressive. And, you're only going to have so many years of peak Marcus Semien and Corey Seager together. Maybe Semien's already on the downturn. I'd like to think not. I'd like to hope not. I mean, if the Rangers got, 2 years of, peak Semien, then that's not great. He's only 33 years old. He's not ancient by any means, and they've still got, half a decade left on the contract. I guess 4.5 years, technically. maybe 5.5, if my math is mathing correctly, which I'm not sure that it is at, nearly 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. But they are going to need this team to turn things around immediately. That means with this series against San Diego, every series is you've got to win that series. There is so much pressure on this team right now. And ending this series against Baltimore in the way that they did is the only reason that you think, okay, maybe, just maybe, there's something left in this team. Maybe, just maybe, they've got some kind of miracle run in them. Because that's, at this point, that's what it would take, is a bit of a miracle run. But it is still the team that had those miracle runs last year, that had that coming out of nowhere and just scrapping their way into the playoffs, and then going on an absolute heater, winning the first 7 games of the playoffs, and then ended up winning the World Series. This is pretty much that same team, with a couple of key additions in Wyatt Langford and well, they gotten about as much of Evan Carter as they got last year, maybe a little bit less so than they hoped, but still, they had a little bit less of Josh Young than they'd hoped, but they've had the emergence of Josh Smith. This team, this season isn't quite over, but it is just on the verge if you let this thing start to slip away any further. And the fact that they couldn't get even one of those games against the Brewers, and they lost 2 heartbreaking one-run games in this series, I mean, those are the margins of staying in it and falling out of it. And they're going to have to make some serious decisions when it comes to the trade deadline of how close are they? Is it worth it to try and stick with what you got? Or can you get a lot out of a trade for, trading Nathan Eovaldi plus, David Robertson? Can you get a lot out of a trade of Max Scherzer plus Kirby Yates? Can you get a similar type of return of what you gave up to go get Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton last year? I would think they could get more because, well, if they gave up, their 2 best assets in Yates and in Eovaldi, both those guys are at their peak right now. They're phenomenal. And Montgomery was fine, pretty good, but Yates is much, much better than Chris Stratton. And Eovaldi, I'd say much better than Jordan Montgomery. No shade to World Series hero Jordan Montgomery. But still, this team had an incredibly rough road trip. And just almost as bad as you could script. And by the grace of Wyatt Langford and Derek Hill and Andrew Heaney, they just breathed a little bit of life back into themselves with this Sunday blowout. But keep going. Keep doing it. Keep turning skeptics into believers. Because there's still going to be a lot of time left for this team to come back. But that lot of time is running out quickly. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.